Things only adults would notice in Mulan. There are a couple of things we never noticed with Disney's Mulan while watching it as children. Well, the same applies to the current generation, and Riveted has compiled things you will notice in Mulan only as an adult. There's only one attractive man. Okay, this has been a problem while casting Asian men in productions. Asian American men have always voiced the fact that directors stereotype them. You can only imagine how much worse it was while Disney was creating the animated film, considering it was the first Disney animation with Asians. In the entire movie, Chang is the only good-looking man. He is tall and handsome, with a pointed nose, which gives him more European features than the other men who are portrayed with rounded, flat noses. Wow, Disney, you were trying to say that there are no good-looking Asian men? After making an effort to have at least one handsome man in the movie, Disney decided to sexualize him. Whew, why was he shirtless most of the time? Okay, Disney, we'll give you a pass for that one because it was the first movie, but there are other instances where you won't get a pass. Chang's sexuality is a mess. As a child, you probably never noticed this, but Chang terribly battled with his sexuality. While the audience can appreciate the growing attraction Mulan has for Chang, many kids probably aren't thinking about how conflicted Chang must feel. He was a man attracted to a woman portraying herself as a man. When Chang found out that Mulan was a girl, he was either angry, as he might have actually been gay and in love with Mulan as a man, or he was confused and shocked, even relieved, as he might have been wrestling with the notion of being in love with a man. Well, that part of the plot may never be resolved, and we may have to live with the idea that he might have been bisexual. Mulan is an only child. In fact, it makes less sense because she was the only female child. The preference in China was always for male children, so it seems like they would probably have had more children. For thousands of years in China, most of the Chinese preferred sons rather than daughters because the majority of males have more ability to earn more than girls, especially in agrarian economies. Even if the family didn't have a son, they would have shown the effort of trying to have one by having several girls. The gender roles. When Mulan was first announced, viewers believed that it would be a feminist movie, but it was the exact opposite. For a movie that is meant to show a woman can do what a man can do, it seems pretty strange that Mulan does not question traditional gender roles at any point. When she's sent to the matchmaker, she genuinely tries to conform to the feminine ideal and feels like she has failed her family when she doesn't. Even when she joins the army, it's not out of a belief that she's equal to a man, but because she wants to save her dad. A child may just notice that there's a female hero, but an adult can see between the lines. In fact, if you look closely, you will notice that Disney sugarcoated Mulan. The real story has more stereotypes, and she returns home to do more girl stuff. The worst part is that even after everything came to an end, Mulan had to get approval from her dad. Come on, Mulan, you literally saved China. Disney may change historical occurrences because they are focused more on entertainment and the primary audience is kids and teenagers. According to The Guardian, Attila ruled the Hunnic Empire from 433 to 553 when the empire was at its most powerful. It may have been a contemporary of Mulan's if she existed. The eastern limit of Attila's territory was around the Caucasus, 3,000 miles from North Wei territory, and the thrust of his military efforts was westwards into Europe, not eastwards to China. A folding fan. This is also a historical mishap which could have been avoided with a little research. Mulan should not be using a folding fan in the film as they wouldn't exist yet in that period. She would probably more likely have used a flat, circular fan as folded fans didn't become widespread in China until the 15th century, long after she would have lived. Mushu is such a pervert. Of course, everyone loved the fact that Eddie Murphy portrayed the funny character in Mulan. However, some of the things he says can only be interpreted by an adult. A child would only laugh without knowing the hidden meaning. It's best to listen to what he says when he meets Mulan for the first time. There is a discreet sexual innuendo hidden within the dialogue. He says, "My eyes can see straight through your armor." His eyes are also fixed on Mulan's bust almost the entire time. After noticing what was happening, Mulan slapped the pervert. To get the army buddies out of the water and away from Mulan, Mushu is forced to intervene. He swims under the water and bites laying on the behind. The army buddies panic, distracted long enough for Mulan to get out of the water and to cover herself up to avoid detection. In American Gothic, Grant Wood decided to make this painting to captivate the struggles that Americans were facing on an everyday basis during the height of the Depression. He used oil on beaverboard to paint with tight and descriptive detail. This was the style that he admired so much in the paintings of the Flemish Renaissance era. The painting received high appraisal and is now located at the Art Institute of Chicago. In this scene, Mulan wakes the ancestors for advice on problems in her life. Two of the people she awakens resemble the people depicted in Wood's American Gothic. Well, the director had a particular purpose while incorporating this piece of art, but as a child, I'm sure you never noticed. Rockets didn't exist at that time. Fireworks were invented in China. In fact, a lot of the things that we have today were invented in China. But at the time Mulan was around, rockets would not have been invented yet. The film features a lucky cricket, which tells us that the film is set after 500 BC, when the tradition of lucky crickets emerged. And it wasn't the only thing they got wrong. General Li, Chang's father, has a really cool helmet, but the only problem with that is that it's from the wrong dynasty. The helmets of generals in the Ming Dynasty looked more like this helmet, while General Li's helmet most closely resembles this helmet from the Han Dynasty. You probably never knew that as an adult as well. The bad guys have darker skin. The preference for lighter skin is deeply rooted in Chinese culture, as it is in much of Asia. It was very disheartening that the bad guys were portrayed with darker skin. This was very damaging for kids who grew up knowing that dark-skinned people are evil. Disney may not have realized the effect at the time, but many people with dark skin bleached their skin because of this stereotype. Well, I guess they somehow put that into consideration after having numerous dark-skinned superheroes, even though they were met with controversies. Children never really know racism until it's shown to them, so productions nowadays try to be very careful when portraying race. Chang didn't spare Mulan. In the movie, Mulan saves Chang's life, and he feels that he should return the favor. When it reaches the time when he has to get rid of her, he spares Mulan. But Chang didn't really spare Mulan's life. He just condemned her to die a long, slow death in the cold. He left her out in the snow with a blanket and a small fire, which didn't do much to protect her. Well, I guess it was the best we could get, and as a child, you probably thought that Chang spared Mulan's life. It's too Americanized. Mulan was very important not just for Chinese kids, but all Asian kids. She was the only hero they could relate to while growing, yet they were also disappointed with the movie. The film was highly criticized for not entirely being faithful to Chinese culture. It was apparently too Americanized for Chinese audiences. It came as a surprise that it barely made $30,000 in China, where Disney movies tend to make millions. Some blamed this on poor timing, saying that the film was released right when Chinese kids were going back to school, but it's more likely that the movie failed because it's simply not a Chinese movie. It's a Chinese-American movie. The Great Wall of China. The movie starts with the Huns attacking the Great Wall of China. The film takes place after the late 16th century, as this period was when major construction on the Great Wall occurred, and the wall we see in the film appears to be complete. The purpose of the Great Wall was to prevent people from crossing over to the other side. In the movie, the wall can be crossed using ropes and paper clips, which beats the purpose of the wall. The soldiers miraculously disappeared. During all the training scenes, it seems like there are dozens of troops training under Li Shang. As they make their way to the capital city, one can literally count around 10 soldiers. It's very unlikely that he decided to leave all the others behind during such an important battle. Mulan's grandmother. She's actually cooler when you watch the movie as an adult. Towards the end of the movie, Chang walks to Mulan and Grandma is totally man-hungry. She asks Chang if he can sign her up for the next war. Hilarious. Also, when Mulan asks Chang to stay for dinner, he asks him if he would like to stay forever. There's a scene where Grandma Fa blindfolds herself as she walks across the street. She literally inspired the movie Bird Box. Both movies also involve the use of an animal. Mulan has the lucky cricket, while Bird Box has a bird that the character uses for safety. Mulan training as a man. Okay, this is something that most older ladies would have noticed. Mulan was able to sneak and take baths so that she didn't smell like a man. How come the men never noticed that she tied her towel above her chest when they ran past her? Considering she was 16 when she was joining the training camp, how did she hide her periods for so long? And lastly, one of the most powerful Disney scenes. No Disney princess got close to having an entire country bow down to them, and Mulan achieved that. I don't think a child would understand the importance of that scene. Is there anything else that you noticed which we missed? Let us know in the comments section below. This has been Riveted, and we publish amazing videos daily.